I think I think it actually worked that time.
We'll have to see.
Did it work, guys? We rehearsed that the other day. Did it work a little better?
It may have. I don't know if it caught the first part of it. We'll have to see how the timing was.
Yep. Callie is going to join us for the live tonight.
Mm.
Yeah. Uh, Chris said that was an anti-redneck intro. That's because Steve built it.
Well, I tried to have a little more redneck music on it, but it flagged us last week for we can't use that. So
Uh, yeah. Hey, I'll give you three guesses what I've been doing today.
knitting. No? Do I
It's
still get my
closer.
other two guesses?
Sure.
Needlepoint.
You're terrible. All right.
Tramming your CNC.
Yeah. There you go. Now you got it figured out.
Hmm.
I was gonna make one of these, but I forgot that James Dean, he
Yeah,
actually shared the file, so I just
very
put it here.
nice. Yeah.
But yeah,
Always better to borrow from someone who's got it already done.
yeah. I mean, it works. I just got through. I got it as close as I can get. It's not perfect, uh, like my OCD would like for me to get it, but I've worked on it so long that I think at this point it's not enough to justify working on it any longer. So
Yeah,
we're just going from there.
especially when woodworking, you get to a point of diminishing returns where you're not going to notice it that much, and if you especially if you're not feeling the line, if you're just seeing it, that easily sands out. But
Brian, if I use anything bigger than that, my OCD is going to bother me. I've got it down now to where I've got it very close. Uh, but oh, it wasn't really out that bad to start with. But when I surfaced, I mean, just you can barely feel it. And I was like, let me get that out of there. Yeah, that turned out to be a job.
yeah, it's
So,
it's worth it though. I mean, when you start getting into uh, bowls and trays and things that you want to fit together and such, having not having those vertical lines in the sides of deeper objects, it helps a lot. So
yeah. Well, I think we ought to have quite a few people in here. So I'm trying to scroll through the comments here and make sure we didn't miss anybody or any shout outs or anything I need to do there.
yeah,
Uh, so, Miss Sharon, Vince, how are you? Scott in Nebraska, Norbert, hello, sir. Ozark, Alabama, this is James Richards. Well, welcome there, neighbor. I came fairly close to Ozark when I come up 85 coming back from Atlanta today. Closer than I am when I'm living here, anyway. Uh, Midnight Sun out in Illinois. Vince says it's about 60 degrees in Michigan. Is it warmer up there for you too, Steve? I know you've been
yeah.
battling with the ups and downs.
No, today it was super windy. As a matter of fact, not too far from here, we've got a really bad brush fire going on about half hour from me because it's so dry and it was so warm today. I'm pretty sure it hit 60. I had the door open, the windows open, or the window and the doors open in the shop, and it got up to about 69 before it started cooling off again. That's that was no heat, no AC or anything. So enjoying it,
Yeah.
but it's also very dry, and we're going to be at drought risk now, and not looking forward to that.
Well, we don't have a drought risk here. We had another shower this weekend. All the creeks were up on my way home today. So
Mm.
we're still good. Uh, Hello, Mr. Jim, Brad Ham, Mark. How are you, sir? And of course, Brian's with us tonight. What's up, Minnesota Maker, Roger. Tom from Arizona. Quite a few. It's getting to where it's hard for me to call everybody out. So, guys, don't get, if I miss you, please don't get mad at me about it. But soaking in a raise back from Florida. Yeah, it's been pretty warm here for the past week or so. So so we've got everything pretty much in full bloom. So Robert says his eardrums thanks you. I guess because we fixed it last week.
Yeah,
We blew 'em up last week with it.
it was a little unbalanced last week. Yeah. So
Yeah. Oh, let's see. David Grant, Ed from North Carolina, Mr. Larry Broom. How are you, sir? Midnight Sun Work. Uh, Midnight's. I got a recommendation for you there, intro maker. Starting at last three
there's always
seconds.
okay.
How many seconds does it last now? I didn't pay attention.
The countdown thing should be 5, and then it goes into the intro.
Well,
So
technically, I could start it at 3. Like I could wait until I hit the go live button for 2 seconds.
well, I think you
But
need hit go live. Well, yeah, whatever. We'll work on it. We can stretch it out, but we're trying to get it so that people aren't jumping in mid conversation.
yeah, we were just trying to
you
get the
know.
audio fixed, guys. I think we got that part of it done. So, HTL Customs, how are you, sir? Well, my brain's been studying this thing right over here lately. I'm trying to get it up and running and get it like I want it. I figured out where I was messing up with Vectric, and I feel accomplished because I asked the Vectric folks if the speed being too low, which now these are the salespeople, but I asked them if the speeds being too low in my tool settings would keep the spindle from coming on. They didn't know. They referred me to technical. So luckily, I thought that was the problem, and it was. It's working like a champ. And the speeds on this guy are way faster than the Genmitsu's or the routers or anything else. This thing screams. Like you can't go below 8,000 RPMs on this thing, which is like awesome. So pretty happy about that. Yuri said, "Wow, that's a gorgeous CNC sitting back there." Yes, it is, Yuri. I am enjoying it so far.
It's over there.
What? You can't see yours. All you can see is your milk
Oh,
jug thing.
there it is.
Oh, that's a 150. I started calling it something else, but I'm not gonna pick at you about it. But no, guys. Yeah, I saw all the Onefinity stuff. I was sending Steve pictures of the new Onefinities at the event the other day, kind of teasing him.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know about using a 16-inch tram tool. That would really drive me nuts. I mean, I guess it would definitely add for more variation, which would make it a little simpler. I may try doing a longer one later, but I'm new to this, guys. I've only done it a couple times, so.
Well, it depends on how the adjustment tools on your machine. Some, it's like you got to tap it and hope you get the set screw back. I like the way the Onefinity does it. That you've got 4 adjustment screws on two on your top bar, 2 on your bottom. You basically loosen one, tighten the other to tilt it one way or the other, and a little bit goes a long way. But they can make micro adjustments, and it makes it a lot easier to dial in. This one is far easier than my other machines have been, so that's one thing I was really happy about with it.
Yeah, I haven't found any good tutorials on doing this one, so I'm just kind of playing it by ear.
Yeah.
Maybe once I figure it out, or maybe if if I do find something, I could do a video about how I did it. But right now, I'm just trying to get it to where I've flattened it already, but I'm just trying to trim it out now.
Hmm.
So, and I've got to learn how to design the flattening file because it was a little off. Uh, I may actually have to make the file bigger than 48 by 48. I think that might be the problem. I did not realize that I measured it, I thought, but I think I may need to go 48 and a half by 48 and a half to get all the
Yeah.
wood done. Let's see here. What's that in the jugs over my shoulder? That is some, my goodness, epoxy.
It's total boat epoxy.
Yeah. I got a couple of I guess you could call it testers to use for some projects. They're wanting me to maybe start using their stuff, and they had a lot of it at the event, and so they gave me a couple of testers to use. I've got a couple of testers of pigment and stuff like that to use with it, and I did a CNC project the other day, and I made this. This was the very first job I did with the You got me saying Onefinity. This is the very first job I did with the Shapeco, and it turned out pretty nice considering this is my very first project. I did have to do it with an 1/8 inch bit because at the time I was having to use their software, and I'm terrible at their software right now. Uh, I wasn't able to set up a tool change because I haven't advanced that far in their software yet. So I just ran it with an 1/8 inch bit, but this thing's so fast. This only took like 40 minutes, and I was like, okay, that works. So I just rocked it with an 1/8 inch bit, so I didn't have to have all that leave. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. Jeff saying as long as your items pass the 6 inch rule, you're good to go. I don't know what that means. What's the 6 inch rule?
I don't know if they look good from 6 inches away.
Okay. Or is that 6 foot? Not 6 foot rule, he says.
Yeah, usually 6 foot rule. Yeah.
I don't know. But let's see. Hobo said he missed the intros because of ads. Let's give. Oh well, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, we need to hold back the intro just a little. Maybe we may actually need to count it down from like 10.
Yeah, we could put a longer countdown timer on there so it gives a good 30 seconds, and that should allow everything to catch up and no one jumps in midstream.
Your wish you were 6. Not sure I'm following there, Rick. How are you there, sir? 6 foot, yeah, 6 foot, as long as they look good. Oh, yeah. 6 foot away. I got you. Well, I couldn't tell it on this that it needed anything because the thing about it is you can only see it with that 1.5 inch flattening bit. So, and it was very, very minimal. And it's actually only on left to right. It's not doing it front to back. So I need to twist the gantry just a fuzz.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't find anything in the book telling me how I'm supposed to do that other than just spacers. So I'm working on that. It's got some little on the side. It's got these like little twisters. I'm pretty sure those are key, but
Yeah.
I've got to do some studying. I didn't have enough time. I was too busy doing other stuff and
Yeah, well, you got that
unpacking.
right before you had to leave, so
Yeah.
you're just jumping into it now.
Yeah, I've got this week to figure it out, hopefully. So, yeah, Brian, this one probably has all kinds of things that I haven't found yet, but I'm gonna have to look around and find them. I looked for videos, but nobody's really done a lot of videos with this machine, and so that's one reason why I wanted to get it was because there wasn't a lot of content out there with it. And so far, I like the performance, and it just looks awfully cool over there. So I'm happy. I'm very happy so far.
And as you and I have talked about it, you know, for the price point, you've got a pretty nice setup there. I mean, technically, it's bigger than my machine, you know, because you got the full 48-inch depth. I've got 32.
Yeah.
You've already got a spindle going on yours. I'm going to have to add that to mine at this point. So, you know, for price wise, it's a lot of a machine, and you know, you
Yeah.
got a lot of the things you'd want on one. So it'll be interesting to see as you start diving into it. You know, what you
Oh
find
yeah.
out about it. You know,
I'm digging the dust shoe. That Sweepy Pro is where it's at because I just knew surfacing that MDF was gonna just ruin my shop, but
yeah.
like I didn't have any dust. It gets it all. So that thing was definitely worth the extra expense because that wasn't like factory. That didn't come with it. That was an add-on. But you know, me and you've discussed it. That dust collection on a CNC is kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, look at that. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Clack, you're a redneck in Illinois. You don't pronounce the S at the end. Hey, I can't help it. I ain't. Have I ever said that I wasn't a redneck? I've never denied that. What's up, Rich? LA hobby guy down in sunny New Orleans at 78 degrees. Oh, I bet the mosquitoes are already getting huge down there. I know
Mm.
they're already pretty big here, but I can imagine they're fat down there.
Luckily, it's still cooled off enough to kill off a lot of them, but we do get a few bugs coming up when it warms up already. And I do have some plants. I mean, we've got some like bulb type, you know, irises and tulips and whatnot. And I've got some that are already coming up like 4 inches out of the ground, and I'm going, well, you better hope we don't get our March snowstorms. So,
Yeah, ours are already blooming. The
yeah,
bees are having a field day out there. They've
nice.
been wide open for about 2 weeks now. And Aldrich Custom says that they check their bees and they are active as well. So, yep, it is that time. It won't be long. We'll be having swarms to catch and do some splits and all that good stuff. So that's gonna be fun. I gotta get caught up though. I got a brand new bee suit I haven't even took out of the box yet or the bag yet that I need to try out. We'll try to pull some honey this year. I didn't last year because I was trying to make sure they made it through the winter. So Mark said he's got a green desert right now with some yellow wildflowers starting to bloom. So that's cool.
I imagine, yeah.
And then Mark Patterson said they're having blizzards. Well, that's not good.
Yeah, it's for us, March tends to be our snowiest month, so I'm kind of I'm trying not to get too excited about our warm weather. We need the moisture, but I'd like it to not come in the frozen variety. But
Yeah. Oh, Norbert. Yeah, I didn't get the pictures dumped today. When I got home, I had some stuff going on. I had to go by Lowe's, restock, and I got in here and had to kind of put everything back together. Uh, it was a feller by the name of Don that watches the show, and I didn't even get his last name. And so, Don, if you're in here, you can more than glad to wave your hand. But yeah, I met him last night, and we sat there and like I think we talked about everything under the sun for about an hour or so, and just kind of hung out for a while. And like I said, that was it was probably more fun meeting him than it was meeting some of the guys that have like these massive YouTube channels because it was very very appreciated and very humbling, I guess you would say. Hard to believe, but yeah, that was like he was like the third person that actually recognized me in the crowd, so it made me feel pretty good. Uh, but believe it or not, James Dean actually did. When I went to walk up on him, he recognized me, which I was actually shocked at that as well. Because when he said it, I was like, "Oh, so you know who I am?" He's like, "Yeah, I watch your content or something like that." You know how he has that accent, but yeah, he's a good guy. Enjoyed hanging out with him. Got to hang out with Daniel and Nick as well. A good bit while we were there, so it was fun. A lot of other new faces that I didn't know. Got to actually shake hands and talk to little for a little while to 731 Woodworks and a slew of others. So,
good
but
stuff. Yeah, it's
yeah, it was fun.
it is a big networking group for people that are in this space creating content, and so would have loved to make it, but just didn't pan out this year. Um, so yeah, I was trying to keep myself busy and not just watching everybody's Instagram feeds and whatnot with all the stuff coming from there. Because and then the best part was I'm having dinner, I'm watching TV with my wife, and I get a text message from one friend and I get a Facebook message from Clack, and it's two versions of the same photo of them both saying, "Hey, ran into each other," and I'm like, "Yeah, you guys are killing me." So
Yeah, I forgot about Chris. I did. Yeah, got to hang out with him for a few minutes. He was busy. He was actually one of the speakers, but yeah, I did run into him, and me and him both took selfies and texted them to Steve at like the same time.
yeah,
But yeah, it was fun. Sharon, I am relatively new to epoxy, but according to the little class that I took this past week, it is advised that you seal it before you put epoxy on there because the tiny little air bubbles that are inside the wood can come up through into the epoxy. So I didn't know that, but I got to go listen to Jess Crow gave a little class on how to do it, and I actually got to play with some of the epoxy that I've got over there, and that was something that I did not do the couple of times that I've used it. So I'm glad I paid attention to that. And of course, they sell a sealer, or I guess you could just use any kind of sealer that you wanted to, but they actually sell one that's made for their product as well.
yeah. It also helps to prevent bleed through. So like even if you're not going to epoxy it, but you're going to paint it, it can be good to add that because depending on the type of wood, that paint and or dye will soak into the fibers, and it'll get into areas you're not looking to have that color. So it's an extra step, takes time, but well worth it. And here's your friend Don.
Oh, hey, Don. There you are, sir. Yeah, but we got a picture. I did not get to post it. I'll try to post it tomorrow. I got home and got to. I'm sorry, Don. I got to blend with the CNC and I forgot all about you, man. But I forgot about posting the photo. But yeah, Don was there with a bunch of guys that he's friends with, and they do like a type of a podcast type thing, and it was a cool bunch of folks, and we just kind of sat there in the motel lobby. They had a restaurant there that served beverages, and we just kind of sat there and chilled for a few hours until Don and I both got a little sleepy, and it was time to turn in. So, like I said, it was good to get to see folks that actually had watched the videos. Brian, yes, I have to still make time. And sometimes it gets a little rough. I have to prioritize which toy I'm going to play with that week. As far as the Shapeco right now has kind of got my attention because here's the thing, guys. I dropped a pretty bit of money on that machine, so I've got to in the next couple of weeks get proficient enough with it that I can start advertising jobs with that machine to try to start making some money back with it to offset some of my expense. If not, the lasers are going to end up paying for the CNC. So, and that will take longer than if I can get the CNC to pay for itself. Uh, so that's the plan is to get it up and going.
And
Uh,
that happens. I mean, my one of my CNCs actually paid for my first laser before I got that up and running and able to start kind of earning its keep. So
yeah, they say Brian. No, it does not use a Masso controller. You can see the TV screen on the wall right there. I've actually got a little small Dell micro PC that's on that shelf right there behind it. Carbide 3D has their own software. It's called Carbide Motion that you use to control the machine. Oof. And it's got all of the functions that you need. You can access the settings on the machine and all that. So there's not a physical like touchscreen controller or anything like that. Now you can run that software on a Windows touchscreen uh, tablet or touchscreen PC, laptop, whatever. I prefer the TV on the wall with the little micro PC, just because all I've got in the way that's near the CNC is that little Logitech keyboard that you see right there, and so I can control everything about the machine from that keyboard, and I don't have to fool with a laptop being in the way. If something were to happen that I drop something over there or whatever, it's a like a $60 for a new keyboard, not having to replace a monitor or a computer because the computer and the monitors back out of the way. So if I were to pick up a slab or something and drop it on the keyboard, it's not going to be the end of the world. So,
yep.
well, Chris, so far, I'm going to be honest with you. So far, uh, I'm not getting any dust out of it. I mean, even the MDF today, which I was thinking I was going to get dust out of it, I took my DeWalt flashlight and I got down beside it and was shining the flashlight to see if I could see the particles coming out of it, and every bit of it was getting sucked into the dust extractor. So far, I don't have any dust issues. Like the only chips that gets left in there is a little pile on either side of the tab that it doesn't quite pull the chips out. Like there'll be a few big chips stuck down in there. Other than that, when I get to do a job, I don't have to. I'm not even having to use my shop vac anymore. There's no chips to have to vacuum up unless you forget to put the dust shoe down, and in that case, it can be quite messy because that thing will throw some shavings real quick.
Mm. Yeah, that's one of the things you and I talked about. I got to upgrade my dust boot on the Onefinity. It
Well,
works
hey,
great for certain bits, but not all.
I,
So
I found you one this past week.
yeah, I've been looking at theirs.
I saw it in action. It works, and it looks just like this one. So, uh, as far as the design concept is very, very similar. So Mark's wanting to know if we got if I guess he's talking about Rich or me, maybe me one. Got to have a hunting license to kill the mosquitoes. It's almost like having to get a turkey, like get a turkey license. Uh, Jonesy, I was over in Georgia at the Workbench Con, which is an annual event. Apparently, they've had it like 6 years in a row,
Hmm.
and it's basically content creators, sponsors, companies that are looking for people to kind of work with to to demo their stuff, and just, I mean, all kinds of folks, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, or uh, whatever. I think the biggest ones were Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. I mean, I think there were some other folks there that did others, but that was the bulk of the people that were there. That was what, when they came up, and I talked to them because we had to swap stickers and all this kind of stuff. And when you talk to them, that's where most of them say that they do their stuff at was a lot of them was Instagram. I didn't realize how much stuff was on Instagram, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a it's a conference that's kind of aimed. It's really heavily aimed at content creators around the making, woodworking, crafting genre, but they they do cover a lot. That if that's just part of your focus, but you're trying to build your business, they do cover a lot of things there. But it is a heavy focus on content creation. So it's not one that probably the average person who's just wanting to play with lasers and sell a few things would necessarily want to go to. There's other events for that, but it's something I've had friends talk about and look at. And when Clack was talking about hitting up uh, an event or a conference this year, I sent it his way before I knew it. He's like, "Yep, well, I'm signed up," and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Well, you said you thought it would be a good event, and like I said, we were both going to be there, but things changed, and I wound up having to just use the one bed to hold my luggage over in the room. But next year, hopefully, we can get everything to work
Yeah,
out, and we can both go over there and kind of chill and learn some stuff, because there were some classes and stuff like that you could go to on different things. Like I said, the epoxy class, I had been wanting to dip my toes back off in epoxy since I got a CNC that is a little faster, so I can do more complex stuff. And so that worked out good for me because they did have like a big emphasis on epoxy crafts and stuff like that as well.
hmm yeah. Cool.
Brian, the folks that were actually wanting it, I messaged me. A couple of them had some stuff come up with family and that type of thing unexpectedly. So we wound up calling an audible, and I did get to hang out with Don in the lobby of the motel. I just actually didn't even know Don was there. uh, just happened to sit down at the table with him, or actually, I think I saw him pointing at me and talking about me, and I walked over and I was like, "Hey, how are you?" And they're like, and I was like, I guess, maybe somebody recognized me, and that's when Don was like, "Yeah, I watch you every Sunday." So I sat down and got me a hamburger and a drink and just chilled out for a while. It was cool. Uh, it was fun.
Cole's asking, and can anybody go to the event? And it is open. They open up registration for it usually over the holidays, maybe a bit before that. It's always kind of this time of year, end of February, and it is open to anybody. But it's a pretty. It's not a cheap event per se.
I just
You
say it
know,
ain't cheap.
um, yeah, it's they kind of expect that you're paying for this as part of your business to develop it, and they're banking on you getting some exposure both with other creators as well as some brands. So it is open to anyone that wants to, but it's there if you're looking at there's cheaper ones to go to. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, that's one reason why Brandy didn't go with me, was because she was like, I'm not gonna do or get enough out of it to justify paying for the ticket this year,
Hmm.
so you go by yourself. And then Steve was, like I said, me and Steve was gonna kind of split some of the expense to help out with with the burn from the ticket, because the tickets were not cheap. But oh, there we go. Brian says Steve's number one.
Well, I got to pay them off somehow. But
I'm Try to get through the comments.
Here's a question. When doing craft shows, how do you handle questionable Wi-Fi?
I carry my own hotspot.
Hotspot. If a lot of plans will allow you to add, like maybe $10 a month, or some have it included. Definitely activate that on your smartphone if you have it, because at least then you're not necessarily guaranteed a signal, but at least you have a recourse that you're not dependent on the company for. Now, if you're in a big area and everybody's using it, well, it can get just as saturated as well. So try not to, in some cases you can have multiple carriers if it's really that critical to your business, but otherwise you try to have a backup plan in case you don't have it.
Yeah. Sharon, like I said, they sell a special sealer for it, but from what she said, it really wasn't that particular as far as the epoxy would stick to, most clear coats that you would use ordinarily. Like I said, not an epoxy expert here. I literally have done like 2 or 3 things with epoxy, and I went through a 2-hour class. That's all I got. That's all. That is the extent of my experience so far.
So depending on the epoxy, and different manufacturers will advise for or against this. You can thin it down with alcohol. Here again, you want to use more of a pure alcohol, because if you're using like a 50%, you're going to be mixing in some water with it. But you can thin it down a little bit with alcohol, and that will create it to be a little more runny, and you can almost paint it on, and it'll soak in a little bit easier instead of pooling on there. This is something I've done for years on my model aircraft. If I had to fuel proof a firewall or something, we'd use some thin down epoxy. So just a little bit of alcohol goes a long way in thinning down epoxy, though. You don't want to get it too much, or it'll really break down that resin. So, but there are other ones that it's specific. There's some wood stabilizers as well that it's almost like water, and you really soak it in there, and that gets into all the fibers and such. It's a similar process. But for this type of thing, me personally, I would just thin down my epoxy a little bit with some alcohol, let that cure up, and then move forward.
Try to go through these darn.
Yeah.
All right, I think I got everything done.
Here's another vote for PWN from Jim Pitts.
Yeah.
It says the shoes are wonderful, top shelf. So.
Yeah, hey, and I sent you the guy to call and talk to. See, so the ball is in your court, bro.
Yeah, no, I got I've got an email started in my drafts folder. I'm gonna reach out to him on a few things. Yeah. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was looking out for Steve while I was over there. Like I said, they had talked to me about using one with mine, and they make one that would work with the Shapeoko, but it's not the same as this one. It's the one that's made basically to clamp on a 65 millimeter spindle. It's so it would be more of it would move with the spindle, as opposed to the one that I've got now is stationary, and the spindle can move independent of it, which makes it a lot more effective at getting the dust, because it doesn't raise up off the material at any time. So that makes it a lot better.
So Brian has a question for you.
I'm getting ready for it. Go ahead. Oh, my button ain't working. Oh, you're lucky, Brian. You're lucky. My software's not up. Hang on, I'm not going to get it to launch. But I see what you're saying there, Brian. But yes, that's exactly what happened, but not exactly in the manner in which you're indicating, sir.
But it is cool being able to, connect with people and have people, like when I was at the Minnesota Woodworking Expo last year, I was surprised. I mean, I knew people like Brian had said they were going to come, so I expected a few people to show up, but there were other makers in the community in the greater Minnesota area. There was like, oh yeah, I watch your videos. I'm like, oh, okay. Who are you?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm still very new to this, and so it's a little weird when somebody's like, "Yeah, I watch your stuff," and I'm like, "Oh, seriously? You actually said that?" It still kind of catches you off guard. Which, I mean, I know I watch other people's stuff, and so I guess it shouldn't be too that big of a stretch to see it, but yeah, it was a cool experience. Like I said, Don was very cool to hang out with, and not he hopefully wasn't disappointed Because he expected me to be just an Alabama redneck, and that's what he got. I mean, so he
Mm.
should have he should have been happy with that. Oh, wait a minute, where's Brian's comment? Hang on, I gotta find it. Where's it
Oh,
at again?
do you need it back?
Yes, I need it back because I got something. Nope, that ain't it. There
But
you
that's
go.
a good question. He's got it working.
Yeah, I got it working.
So yeah, let's jump back to that one. What are you using for dust collection on your shape up hoe?
Currently, I'm using that win that you see hanging on the wall right there. Now, I will tell you this: if you don't like stuff that's loud, you're not gonna like it. But if you
Mm.
like stuff that keeps the dust out of the air, it does a pretty good job at that. Uh,
Now, do you what size do you have, a 2.5, or is it a full 4-inch hose coming off there to your dust boot?
I think it's a 2.5, three,
Okay.
three, three. I think it's a 3 inch. Now you can make me go measure it, Steve.
Well, okay. So 2.5 or 3 inches. What's half an inch?
It's probably inner diameter 2.5, but it's the accordion style hose. It's
Okay.
closer to
Yep.
like
Yep.
almost 3 on the outside.
Yeah.
So
So that's great. I mean, a lot of times people are upgrading to the 4-inch hose right down to the boot to get good airflow and such for that. But that's
yeah.
if you get that setup working well with that shoe on a typical 2.5 to 3-inch uh, hose, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's working. It is working as good as to be expected, I believe. I've actually got some footage of it, but I haven't uploaded it yet. Uh, I, I put the GoPro on there earlier and was running it while it was doing the spoil board, and it done a good job. Like I said, I can't complain. They nailed it on the setup for the dust boot. I did a
Yeah,
couple
that's
of
good.
I did do a couple of shorts or TikTok videos, and you can kind of see it working there. But it looks like a tornado inside that dust boot, and you can watch it go toward the back and go out, and it's pulling it through there really good. Now there was in the corner at the back where it turns to go up the hose, there was like a pile of the dust that was just sitting there
Hmm.
rotating at the
Hmm.
bottom, but that's to be expected because of the shape of the
Yeah,
exit.
it's hard to get away from that, but that's f- fluid dynamics, air movement, and such. That's when people are talking about even like the smoke exhaust systems. The smoother the bends and the smoother the actual piping that you can use, the more efficient it is, because you'll get those pockets where it's going to get trapped. It's going to create some turbulence and such. That's where you start losing effectiveness in dust collection or your smoke extraction. And so I see some people, they'll have these really tight bends because they got their laser right up against the wall, and then they've got extra hosing that's making 5 turns when if they could do it in two, it'd be more effective. So just things to kind of consider when piping either one of those. But
Yeah, hang on. I got a video. I found it. It was on my GoPro, so I had to kind of go hunting for it. But
so
yeah, it does pretty decent. But I'll download that or we can play it here in just a second. Uh, yeah, Steve. I didn't get any messages from anybody except for one or two folks that didn't get to make it, and so I just kind of called an audible and I went to the lobby thinking that I wasn't going to get to meet up with anybody, and then I run into Don, so I was like, well, got to got to meet up with somebody after all. But yeah, it's not a big deal. I was like I said, I was trying to make accommodations for the folks that are over there. I really big city driving and moving around over there is something that would take me a while to get used to. So it wasn't a problem for me to not have to do it. I was okay with that. The video is not
so
uploading.
yes. Someone had asked earlier about events that you or I might go to and how we might find out about that or share that. Um, a lot of times we're going to talk about them here. Otherwise, we have our our individual Facebook pages as well as the laser engraver community. So if we're going to be doing a major event like this, and we might, and either the public's invited to, or, we might try to spin up a meetup like this. It's definitely something that we'll talk about here, and we'll try to get out on either one or both of our channels, as well as the laser engraving community on Facebook. So we try to hit most of our accounts to get the notice out about that. So, just definitely follow along with things like that. We'll try to make these happen when we can. I know I'm planning on being down at down the Clanton area around the 20th of April for a few days anyway. And there's some events going on there. So we'll see if there's interest in people around. Maybe we can work up a meetup somewhere. But
you don't have to be, but I have been told I have got to be at least for a little while at May May's open house. So I'll be at May May's open house on April the 20th for at least a little while. Now, there's another event going on up in Jemison with some of the other channels in the area that I'm friends with. So I'm going to try to go see those guys for just a little while. But if I don't go to May May's open house, there will probably be consequences. So I'm going to go to that one.
Well, I'm still trying to flush out my plans. I mean, you and I have talked a little bit about it, but my goal is to be in Clanton no later than 10 a.m. that Saturday morning. So, but I
got you sleeping arrangements. You're gonna be sleeping out here outside the shack.
Oh, you got a hammock that you're gonna string up for me?
No, I got you a camper, man. I'm gonna get up to the water and the power outside.
Look at you. Nice.
You're going.
Right.
It's gonna be like the Clack Shack or what's it, BRB or URB or Verbo or whatever.
Yeah, Airbnb. Yeah.
Yeah.
You make it too nice. I might not leave for Georgia.
Well, maybe not.
But yeah, we'll try to make sure everybody knows when we're going places and if meetups are possible, because it is. I mean, you and I both now had that chance to kind of meet up with people and do that. So
yeah, it's like I said, I'm hoping it's going to be a fun time up at May May's. Usually she has a lot of people up there, and like I said, a lot of her followers, some of them actually watch the videos, even though they don't have a laser or CNC. So that's kind of cool. And I like to try to give back to them by being up there, so I can at least, shake their hand or take a picture with them or whatever the case may be. That and May will threaten me if I don't show up. So. But yeah, Steve, that was fine as far as the meetup goes, man. Like I said, I was just trying to make sure I gave everybody an opportunity if they wanted to, and I didn't know how the motel would feel about me inviting everybody to the lobby of the motel. So yeah, because they had security and all that kind of stuff. So I was eating out most of the nights, so that was just the easy solution. What is this about? I have went grocery shopping in the past 30 years. Used to, when I'd go out of town, I'd have to stop and buy some groceries on the way out of town. See, that's not entirely true. It's mostly true, but not entirely. Oh. She doesn't even go grocery shopping. She sits in there in the bed, probably tonight, on her tablet, putting stuff in her grocery cart. And then she hits set my pickup, and she pulls up the parking lot. They throw it in the back of the car, and she drives off.
Yeah, Carla does that too, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, but we always forget things. That she's like, but we also spend a heck of a lot less than when we go in and grab everything we think we need. So I'm like, all right.
Yeah, Hobo, I'm not knocking it. I plan on having me an RV eventually. Unfortunately for Steve, I don't yet have one, but I got lucky, and I do have a friend that has one, and I've made an arrangement with him to let me borrow it in exchange for a few dollars. For a few days, and we're just going to park it right out here in front of the shop in the driveway and run the power and the water over and hook it up. And then when Steve gets done, he's going to come pick it up and take it out of here. So hopefully that's going to work out well.
So I'm just waiting to show up to some sort of Cousin Eddie situation here.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, you say that, but I actually did send him a picture of it and tell him I had his bed put together.
Yeah.
It's hey, if you lay corner like from corner to corner, it's not terrible. Your feet just hang off a little bit.
A little bit. You got to remember, I got a few inches on you.
Yeah, but my feet don't hang off, but like maybe a foot. So yours will probably hang off like a foot and a half. So that's not bad. That's only like 15%.
Uh huh. Yeah.
You'd be good.
Maybe I'll better pack the emergency
But now
camping cot.
I do have a cot too out back. Well, actually, my cot's up in the attic up there with the rest of my
Oh,
storage survival gear.
just up with the cats, huh?
Well,
You're
we'd
gonna
have to
make
go
me
up there
crawl
and
up
get
there.
it. We'd have to go up there and get it and bring it down here and put it together. And it's an air mattress, and I have an air compressor. So I mean, you're good.
Well, yeah. I mean,
But like I said,
I threatened to turn my van into half a camper. You know.
let's face it, you were talking about you were talking about sleeping in your van. So I mean, I think a little camper would be an upgrade for you.
No, yeah, no.
I was gonna try to talk Brandy into letting me just go ahead and get my camper and be like, Steve needs it. Steve needs it, and
You're
so
gonna,
I'm gonna go ahead and get
she's
it.
gonna, she's gonna ban me. You're blaming everything on me.
Yeah, but it's gonna work out. Like I said, we will get something. I think the RV is gonna be the camper is gonna be the way to go though. So if not, we can always, like I said, we can put him a place to sleep in here. I guess
Well,
he'll wake up covered
I,
in cats.
well, that's kind of how I am here. Anyway, so yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's I've done also. I mean, I've I've slept in tents and campers and
Oh, see,
cars,
I
everything.
told you she would get me. See that? Look, she's in your spine, Steve. See, whoo, y'all almost got me in trouble. She heard me. Somebody told her I was talking about her. Y'all don't tell her what I said. But no, my mate, I was telling Steve that he's going to be down around April the 20th, and he was trying to get me to like go do something else, and I told him that
Okay,
under no
no,
circumstances could I miss May May's event.
that's not
So
what happened.
so so hopefully, if all goes well, Steve is going to be at your open house with me. So we might be casually late, or Steve may be. Uh, I'll be on time if I need to. But yeah, hopefully he'll make it in time. You're saying you're going to try to be here around 10 in the morning?
Well, I got to look at when it depends. I mean, I could technically try to leave Thursday afternoon, and that
I
would
think with enough monsters you can do it.
then I can. Well, then I would have my big driving day on Friday, and then I'd get there, Friday evening and actually be able to sleep before, going to
Yeah.
set events.
But
Otherwise,
yeah,
I'll leave Friday morning and have a long day and then a short drive. So either way, yes,
yeah,
my plan is to be there mid morning on Saturday. We'll start doing the rounds.
yeah. But like I said, I will be unless something happens at May May's for her open house, and I don't know exactly the extent. I mean, since Steve's going to be down, I may or may not mess with bringing all of my stuff, but I may. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. So, and if you haven't, if you're not familiar with May May, and if you like paper crafts, or if you have a spouse or a friend that likes paper crafts, you guys should go check her out. She is local here. Uh, we our paths crossed a few years ago, and that was back before I really got serious about YouTube because I didn't think I didn't think nobody would watch me, and then I found out May May actually did watch some of my videos, so I'm like, well, hey, if she watches them, maybe somebody else will, and so I did more videos, and she's kind of helped inspire me, I guess you could say, uh, or threaten me and make me do it. How about that? But yeah. She's. I haven't tried to be getting out of it, May May. I plan on being there. I enjoy
No,
it.
you're just laying the seeds that it's someone else's fault when you don't make it.
No, I mean I don't want to say for sure I'm going to be there because I got this whole back thing going on. My luck, I'll
Well,
have a blowout right before then. I could promise you, if unless it's something like that, I'll be there, and I do not want to go through another back episode. So hopefully I'll be there. Where's her open house taking place? Let me go find May May's. She's got it. May May's it on your Facebook page or your website? I'm sure she's got it on her website. Yeah, May May actually keeps her website up, unlike me. Mine stays out of date. Let's see. Events and classes. May May's events and classes. Let's see here. Craft Acropolis. Oh, wait a minute. Well, I may have lied. May May, is it on your website? These are just classes. Uh oh. All right, maybe she'll drop a link if she can. Oh, okay, she's not on her website yet. That's why. Yeah, there we go. 19th and 20th, April the 19th and April the 20th. So for you guys that are like reasonably close, if as long as Steve shows up, this might be one of very few times you'll ever be able to see both of us in the same place until after I retire, and then I'm going to take my camper up to Steve's house and like crash in his yard. But yeah, it'll be me, May May, Steve. There'll probably be a couple more people in and out up there. I can't say for sure. And also later that day, I'm going to try maybe for lunch or something to go, check on some other stuff. But for right now, we definitely will be at May May. That's what we're trying to do, May May. We were going to try to tell everybody to come to your place, and like we would be there with you because we're trying to piggyback off of your fame. Because nobody wants to come see me and Steve, but if we tell them May May's going to be there, then maybe we could like, kind of absorb some visits that way. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, either way, it should be a fun time. I'm excited to get back down there and hang out.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, and I just this past week bought myself a microphone PA speaker system, so we could like jam the parking lot.
You're not gonna like start karaoke, are you?
No, I got it for meetings and for stuff events and stuff. So it's not necessarily all for me. As you know, me and May May are involved in the
The chamber.
area business organization that we call the MAC, which is basically the Merchants Association of Chilton County. And so there's always a business in town that's doing some type of event, whether it be May May or whoever. And it never fails. Everybody's like, hey, I need a sound system, something I can put a microphone up and address a couple of hundred people or whatever. So I had an opportunity to buy one this past week, and I did. So I'm going to get it out here and play with it a little bit, make sure I know how to work it, and then I'm just going to store it away in the trailer. And that way, if somebody does have an event and they need a sound system, I can just like roll up there with it, and boom, we're good to go.
Yep.
So maybe even start renting it out. Who knows? It'll be like sound system and an IT nerd.
You'll be, you'll be, yeah. As I say, you're gonna be doing tech support more on that.
Yeah. But yeah, we plan to, May May. We didn't really ask your permission. Sorry. We were just kind of telling everybody to come there. We figured you didn't mind since you're inviting the rest of America to your place.
It's a flash mob meetup, right? That's how those things work.
Yeah. The Chamber Sound Tech left town. Oh yeah, there we go. Brandy giving me a hard time because for the past few years I've set the audio up at their event that they had, and I was out of town, so they had to call somebody else in.
Yeah.
So, but then that person offered to sell me their system, so I bought it. So
Nice.
I'm gonna put. I want to take the grates off and get me some Clack Shack logos and put on the speakers and stuff. Good free advertisement when you loan it to somebody for an event.
I don't know if it's free if you paid for the whole system yourself.
Well, it's free advertisement for me when they use the system.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can have karaoke up there at the open house now if you want to. We can get Steve to sing the YMCA.
Yeah, been there, done that. Got dragged up on stage at a conference I was at. I'm like, well, I'm never sitting by you people again.
Yeah, I don't think it has a karaoke machine with it. That would probably be something I'd have to add to it. This is it's more of a. I haven't really looked at all the bells and whistles on it, so we'll see. But I do know you can actually Bluetooth it and Wi-Fi connect to it and all that kind of stuff. But it's a pretty cool system.
Yeah, you're going to be up there with flashcards instead of the computerized things. Like, all right, here's the lines, and you'll be bouncing along.
We'll see. Hey, I may go get me one of those big screens that you let up too, and the projector.
Oh,
We might like
oh,
have
see,
an outdoor. We might have a
you're
Clack Shack
branching
theater
out.
over here.
DJ Clack Shack, huh?
DJ Clack Shack and a little punchy. Oh my goodness.
There you go.
Oh,
The
maybe he's got a rapper name. I didn't know that.
the business plan is halfway written for you already, right there. See.
Yeah. Miss Sharon said that she ain't gonna be able to make it, but she's going to FA on the 27th. Not sure where FA is, but that's cool. Miss Sharon, like I said, there'll be other events. Sometimes May will just call me and be like, "Hey, can you run by the shop? There's somebody out in here from out of town." So I've threatened to like put me like a little booth in the corner of May's and like a little miniature Clack Shack with maybe like just one little piece of tea.
Yeah, just get a cardboard cutout.
Yeah. that way I could be like, yeah, come see me at my Clack Shack spot. But till then, I'm just going to hijack real estate from her when I want to. I usually get the porch.
Well, you're making all that smoke, so.
Yeah, she doesn't like me burning wood inside the building. Something about the fire codes and sprinkler systems and fire alarms.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun. Looking forward to it. Well, has anybody got any laser or CNC related questions tonight? I mean, we have been rambling about everything but lasers and CNCs. Which I mean, like I said, y'all bring the content. So if you don't bring something, don't be mad about what we fill the time with.
Well, yeah, I actually, I spent the good part of this weekend with the warm weather, doing a little spring cleaning in my shop, getting rid of the disorganization on stuff. So I did drag out. Well, I posted a few things on my Facebook page. I was working on my CNC. I'd upgraded to the wider width, like I don't know, a good year ago, but I had never adjusted the spoil board. So I took the time to do that and then retram that, which was nice because now I'll be able to use that full 48 width, and it gave me an excuse to re-level the bed, and it's really nice because I got that tramming spot on. I was so happy when it finally hit. I mean, I can slide. I've got the gaps for the track or the T-slot tracks, but you can slide a piece as long as it's level just across the whole thing. It's just beautiful. So really enjoying that. And I dragged out I uncovered my good old 8-year-old CO2 laser and was tinkering with that, checking it out, making sure it's still, more than a shelf. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it at this point. I got a friend who might be interested in it. It would definitely free up some space, but yeah, it's a little spring cleaning in my shop this weekend, along with working on some other stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So y'all were talking about dust boots a while ago, and the one that's on my machine. So I've uploaded that video. I hope it's not like going to buffer, because stuff tends to buffer if I use the software. But if I do it any other way, it's going to create a problem. So let me see if this works.
That's very loud. There we go. But I'm not seeing the video.
You're not? Hang on.
No, just black screen. Still just black screen.
Oh, that's terrible. This software, I'll tell you what. Let me do it the old school. Let me do it the old-fashioned way, I guess. But yeah, it's
you got that primed or what?
on.
Because I could answer a question if you're trying to muck around.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So up north, Knowledge is asking, he's got no name Chinese 80 watt CO2. Are all the lenses pretty much the same? I have a spot on mine. So the lenses are the thing you got to worry about is the diameter of your lens. And so you're going to want to pop that out, measure that. But there will be differences on the focal length of the lens. So usually they're going to be rated as like a 1.5, 2, 3, 4 on up to like 5-inch focal length. And the difference there is how far from the lens it actually focuses, but the longer the focal length, the deeper that it's going to stay in focus, but the larger the spot size it's going to be. So if you're going for a lot of engraving, you want a shorter focal length lens, but that's going to be a finer point that goes in and out of focus faster. If you're trying to cut thicker material, you want to get a longer focal length lens. And it's just going to have a wider spot size. Your kerf's going to be a little bit wider, so you're going to need to possibly take that into account. But it'll allow you to stay in focus and maybe get through material a little bit faster. But the key thing is just to know the diameter of the lens in your machine. So um,
Yeah.
that's kind of the rundown on the ones. I usually buy a few different ones, play around with it. I'll do a ramp test to check the focal length on mine, and then I've got some options. And there are all sorts of different types of lenses that they might be mineral glass, they might have different features to them and such. Some of them will have a marginal impact on your machine, but I pretty much, I think I sourced mine through like Cloud Ray, and I think you can even get those on Amazon as well. So another
Yeah.
good source would be American Photonics. They're out of Florida. Couple places that I would trust their lenses and mirrors. So hopefully that helps you out.
Yeah. Okay. I think I got this figured out. So
All
I'm just
right.
gonna show you. This is the dust boot in action on MDF. So we'll see if we'll see how well it shows. So as you can see, it works pretty well.
Yeah. You kind of right at the end there, you can kind of see the tornado of dust going up there. So looking good.
Yeah, it like I said, there wasn't any coming out. Now you have to kind of shine a flashlight on it to see it because even though it's got all those LEDs, once you put that boot on there and that spindle goes down, it gets really dark inside there. So,
hmm Jim's asking about your Rolly. If you're using primarily the 30 watt.
yes, I couldn't tell you if the 10 watt even part works. I'm assuming it does because it's only just cutting off two of the laser diodes. But yeah, I've never switched it over to 10. I don't think. If I did, it was just for some tests for a video, and I twist it back. I don't routinely run the 10 watt part of it. It's not a noticeable difference to me for anything that I do, and I don't do anything that's that detailed to justify switching it off. So, but
And
oh, go ahead.
John's asking, running a 20 watt diode, wanting to etch wine bottles. Could they be etched full, or do they need to be emptied and refilled after? So, uh, you can etch them while they're filled up, and as a matter of fact, um, in some cases, like when you're engraving the little metal flasks, it's actually best to fill them with water because that'll help keep them from deforming. But the concern with glass obviously is that you're going to possibly have some light bleed through, and what's that going to do to the liquid inside? So um, I don't know. I haven't done that myself. I would probably be putting if I can, put a coating on there because that's going to help it interact more specifically with the layer of the glass rather than going through it. Um, but you still may have a little bit of light bleed through. I wouldn't think it's going to do a whole lot at that point. It should be fairly diffuse. But I can't speak with any authority on if does it do anything to the wine itself. It is safe to do it as long as you're within specs. So if you're um, what the power you need for it, which with glass, less is more. If you overpower it and fracture it, you could have a situation where it cracks, causes a mess.
Yeah, I was just say that would be that would be you have to be real careful not to go too hot because if you did crack that wine bottle, especially a wine bottle, because uh, they can be under pressure due to the gases and stuff that that are inside there. So I'll be real careful with something that's filled with a liquid that could potentially be under a little bit of pressure. Uh, because if it does get a hairline fracture in it from the engraving, that pressure could cause it to rupture, and then you could possibly get cut, but you could also mess up your machine if you're not careful because you're splashing you know this watery, uh, usually syrupy stuff all over it. So let's see here. Oh, hello, Dale. How are you, Brian? I'm not sure I understand the question. Uh, is the dust boot video from your new CNC Watch It Go channel? I'm not following, Brian. Not following. But yes, the video, if you're asking if the video is from my new CNC, yes, it is. I've got a GoPro mounted to the spindle. So I can record video as it's cutting and everything for showing you guys some stuff. I haven't done a lot of videos with it yet, but I've been collecting a little bit of B-roll from it. No, I've never ordered any parts from Rolly other than the machine itself. That's all they've ever sent me. So, and they're saying that your audio is having some difficulties, Steve.
Yeah, I'm just checking into a couple of things here to see if I can
Whoo, I've got your
help.
answer. Uh, well, I say that. Did you change the filter? Because that fixed mine. And make sure you drain the tank also, Michael. There's a valve under the bottom that you need to drain that tank at least after a day of heavy use. But I try to drain mine almost daily to make sure that there's not a whole lot of water in the tank, because the more water's in the tank, the more humidity is going to be in the air that's stored inside the tank. But make sure you turn that little valve and let that water come out of there and drain it before you use it. So, well, if you've changed the filter, I don't know what else it could be unless it's done got damaged or something. Oh, but I run the two water separators. I keep a clean filter in there and keep mine drained, and I haven't had any problems since then. So, unless there's something up with the air compressor.
How close to the laser are the water separators? If they're too far away, you can get additional condensation in the line.
Well, another thing too is there is a possibility too, Michael, that maybe you had water in the lines and you changed the filter after it was having a problem, but the water that was already deposited in the low areas of the lines hasn't made it out of the compressor yet. So, because you got to think about it, water can sit here as long as the air can go over the top of it or around it. The water will just sit there. So, you may want to try, if your hoses have anywhere that your hose has a swag or something like that, you may want to try putting in a valve or something that you can bleed it from the lowest point, because when you drain the air compressor tank itself, the water in the hose is not necessarily going to run back into the tank and drain. So there is a possibility that your interior line could have water deposits in it from before you emptied the filter or changed the filter. Because I'm guessing you had a problem, and that's why you did all those steps. So there's a possibility that there's just water hiding in the lines between the compressor and the laser. Uh, and that could be tricky to get all of it out. So that's going to be my guess. If you did all that, I'm guessing it's probably just hiding somewhere in a low spot in the hose. If you're using a hose, like a roll-up hose, you could always just depressurize it and turn it up long ways and see if there's any water that drains out of it, and do it that way.
Yeah.
With 6 foot, only have 3 foot hose from compressor to the first water separator. Make sure that 3 foot hose doesn't have a low spot in it that could be holding water, because that could, like I said, it could be like basically holding water somewhere. because I did have a little bit of residual water in mine for a while. It took me a little while to get it all out of there.
Yeah, having plumbed in air around your shop is nice, but hunting down water problems like that, it can be frustrating. So
Oh yeah. Oh, I've already decided my next shop. I'm gonna run my airlines like you run septics. I want to make sure there's a downhill spot somewhere
hmm
where I can crack a valve just in case water ever does get in there because it takes forever to get it out if it does.
yeah, yep. So
Oh, appreciate that, Michael. Appreciate it. All right, if you hadn't liked, followed, and subscribed, guys, it's that time because it's an hour and 10 minutes, and I'm gonna try to get off here at exactly 2 hours tonight because I've been gone and I've been out here playing with my machines. And as some of you indicated, I haven't seen Brandy but for just a little while, so trying to make sure I don't get in the doghouse by staying gone too much. So, but one more thing for some of you guys. Some of you guys already know about it, but I found me a dealer while I was over in Georgia, and I got me some good stuff for the CNC. If you saw my little short or my TikTok video that I did earlier, you will notice that the spindle is now sporting a sticker that looks a lot like that. And I met Cody over there and talked to him about his spindles, the operation that he has going on over there. And now that I've kind of upgraded my CNC and got a little better, and I'm not cutting stuff that's not supposed to be cut, I've got me some decent bits to use, and I bought most. I don't think I got all of them, but I got a vast number of Genie bits. So I'm going to be using those guys, trying them out. I saw what Steve was talking about the compression bit with it having like 4 flutes, which is just that thing looks like it'll dig. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying these out now that I've got the machine running. So there you go. From now on, I'll be running Cody's bits, and I told him that I'm trying to help, like, one, let you guys know what they are or what they're like if you're not familiar with them. I know some of you guys have been running them since he started making them, and I know Steve has been running them for a while.
hmm
But I'm gonna try to support Cody and his business because, like, just like me and Steve, I mean, he's running his own show, trying to keep the lights on, pay for the bills, and he had to really step it up to buy the machine to turn these things out. And that's gonna be something that he's gonna have to recuperate his money, just like I'm gonna have to for this thing over here. So we'll have to support him as best we can.
yeah, and he's got one of the few that has a reasonable a downcut V bit, and so when you're doing engravings, so I did this weekend off my new spoil board. Had some extra MDF from the pieces. When you have those V bits and have the orientation of them has more of a downward force on the cut, it has less of a tendency to tear on your top edges here. And so this was my first run with the V bits, and I was very happy with those as far as the finish quality of this, because this is just MDF. I definitely didn't sand this, and those edges of those letters, there's no fuzzies coming off of it. So and then went ahead and threw another project out on there. This one is in oak
Woo!
and mostly V carved. I did some pocketing out over here with the 1/8" Slim Jenny, and then finished it off with the 60-degree V bit. And then what I did was just hit it with some light black paint across the whole board. You got to be careful because oak like this will soak into the grain, and then sand it all off. And this isn't finished. I'm going to let the paint cure, and then I'll put some finish on there. But kind of a cool test of the sign or the bit on both an MDF and some oak. So I love his bits. I've been happy with all of them. I have most of them, including the new bowl bit, and then I've got most of the round nose bits and whatnot. So definitely happy to help him out.
Oh.
There you go. That thing's nice.
I haven't got to try it out yet. I haven't got to try it. The only one that I've actually played around with was uh, the one of the down cuts. What is it? Is it the downtown?
There's the down, yeah, the
Jenny?
downtown Jenny is the straight down cut.
Yeah. But I've got him over here because I got to get all my speeds and feeds. Make sure that, which I actually found too, that he has a Vectric file that you can download and import them automatically, and I did that after I had put one or two of them in manually. I was like, wait a minute, let me go check, and so I've got all the speeds and feeds, and compared to the speeds that I was running with the 6050, this thing should be finishing jobs in half the time the 6050 was taking, because I'm running all the speeds that he recommends for these bits, and so far it's looking like it's going to be a pretty good little combination using his bits with the new Shapeoko 5. So I'm uh, I'm looking forward to making some cool projects now that I've got most everything figured out. I've got Vectric configured mostly. I mean everything I need so far. I did have to take the bit setter, which I'm gonna be honest with you, kind of out on whether I want to use that or just keep doing like I've always done and set the 0 between bit changes. It's kind of like, I don't know. I'll play with it and see if that's something that I want to do. But right now, I'm doing everything manually because somebody ordered the wrong darn bit 0 for it. My buddy Tip is really happy though because he had been wanting to get him a bit setter, a bit 0 for his Shapeoko Pro, and I called him and I'm like, hey, do you have a bit setter for yours? And he's like, no, I've been wanting to get one. And I was like, well, don't order it because I ordered it by accident instead of the one for the 5. So I'm going to give him a bit of a discount on one so that I don't have to go through the trouble of trying to send it back. Uh, but yeah, hopefully that'll be here this week. I don't know if it's shipped already or not. I've been gone.
Yeah,
So kept up with it.
the automatic probe devices like that that'll allow you to really dial in that Z, especially. I mean, I'll still usually manually set my corner unless I have something that absolutely needs to be positioned correctly. So, like if I was going to do a 2-side thing, I'd probably do it that way. But generally, you try to set your XY 0 and not move that. But as you're doing bit changes, you definitely have to get that 0 back on. And so that's I love it for that. And the 6050 has one, which is nice as well. The 150 has one, but my earlier machines didn't, and so I'd have to do like the piece of paper trick, get it down to where it
Yeah.
just grabs the paper and okay, set that as 0, but you could still be a little bit off on that. But
Well, with the Shapeoko, the way it works is like if you've got let's say you've got a cut that you're going to use the first pass is going to be a roughing pass. You're going to use a 1/4 inch bit, and then you're going to go back with an 1/8 inch bit and clean it out. Well, with the Shapeoko, it'll pop up and tell you to do a bit change. But when you do the bit change, instead of having to use the bit 0 again and put it on the corner of the material and all that, when you change the bit, if you've got the bit setter enabled, it already knows where the Z was with the other bit.
yeah,
And so it runs
it just
over
taps
and
off
just
of it.
does just the Z.
Yep.
And then comes back and it continues. The only thing that concerns me about it is they didn't really allow for the dust collection boot that I have for that. And if you don't raise it up before it does that, it'll crash. So I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to not use that and just set my 0 the way I've always have because it's already habit for me to reset the 0 after a bit change. So I'm probably going to do that and just not use that other one unless I, one day just decide to get crazy with it. But it seems like an interesting thing to do. If I wasn't using the dust boot that I'm using, it would work a lot better. But yeah, I don't. What Midnight saying that IDC has an app. As long as the speeds and feeds are in VCarve, I'm good because that's where I do all my designing and stuff. I've been playing around with Carbide 3D's Create software, and it's okay, but it reminds me a lot of say Xtool as compared to Lotburn when it comes to VCarve compared to Shapeco software or the Carbide software. It works, and like I did that logo in it, and it worked great because it automatically put the speeds in there for me and everything. But you have to, of course, that was using their bit because that was the way I was able to get such good results as that one is I just used the bit that came with the machine and threw it in there. But But yeah, I'm still got to learn that software, but I'm getting better at it. It's going to be a long road for me to figure out all the ins and outs. But the machine basically functions the same as the 60 50, 40 40, 30 30. It's just a lot faster and a lot bigger. So. All right, there you go, right there. Uh, well, Norbert, there's a couple of people that I've met over there that one or two had mentioned trying to collaborate on a video or maybe coming on doing a show one night where it's like us sitting around discussing our different perspectives and different things that we do. Uh, but it's going to take a while for everything to get lined up because we got to work on scheduling and everything. I just got back today. I'm gonna be honest with you. I would really like to try to see if I couldn't get James Dean to come do one day because I think that would be kind of neat because we've got me, United States, you've got Steve, South Canada, and then you could have James over in the UK. So I think that would be kind of cool. But there's a couple of other guys that I'm going to look at maybe trying to talk to or get together with. But I'm not going to press the issue with some of them, especially if their channels are bigger than mine, because those guys are busy and all that. But I think James. Matter of fact, I even mentioned maybe we might try to collaborate on something one day, and he didn't tell me no. So I think that's a good sign.
Yeah. Well, and with that one,
But I don't know when that'll be.
we'll have to probably find the right time for that because keeping them up this late might be a
Yeah,
stretch
I
for
mean,
them.
that's what I'm saying. It's going to take some logistics to
Yeah.
get all the details worked out on when we would do it, and of course, it would be something I would want to advertise for a little while. That way, everybody would know about it.
Hmm.
So, but we'll see. Oh, do, 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 do.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's be fun. You and I have talked a bit about that even before you went to Workbench Con, and we just want to do it right because we want to keep the flow and keep not have the conversation be too crazy with too many people. So that's where we probably want to try to focus on one person at a time and
Yeah,
make it a little more worthwhile for everyone to find more out about them, not get you know too many cooks in the kitchen on anything. So
yeah, because Lord knows, me and you can talk enough ourselves. We have to kind of carve him out a little time.
yeah,
But But yeah, like I said, so coming up this week, hopefully, guys, I'll have some CNC content if I can continue with the progress I'm having so far in getting better at using it and just getting where I trust it. Whew. I trust that I'm not going to be tearing anything up with it. But yeah, we've talked about trying to do some different like things with different people. I've about got my buddy Tip talked into coming over here, and I want to sit down and talk to him one day and do like a little video of what he does and so forth. But since the Shapeco 5 Pro showed up, Tip has showed an increased interest in coming by the shop. So I'm gonna try to trick him into coming over and look at the Shapeco 5, and then I'm gonna like try to put him on camera. He's really he's really kind of not real fond of being on camera, but I think I can put him on it. Yeah, that hour time difference, I adjusted to that thing pretty quick because it was like it's technically 9:24 over there now. So it took me it was crazy how fast I adjusted to that, and I guess I got to readjust back to my home time settings now.
yeah. Well,
Just all the squirrels in here. Hey, it's been a
that
long week.
it
Y'all lay off of me.
speaking of squirrels, I mean that was me as I'm trying to put some order back into my shop and get things going. I'd start on one project and then I'd be like, oh, I got to move this out of the way, and I'd set it down, going, oh wait, that needs. I was just getting, I'm like having to remind myself to stay focused on things, otherwise I'd spin off on 3 different projects again, and all in the name of trying to reorganize my shop. So
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been out of my shop so long, my mind's going 1,000 different directions with things I need to be doing.
hmm
Ooh.
it
But Yeah, I'm starting to get sleepy, guys. I'm gonna be honest
You
with you.
sound that way.
So
Yeah.
if y'all got questions, y'all better bring them on because I'm gonna be getting out of here early tonight. But oh, by the way, Steve,
Yes.
I meant
Yeah. Yeah.
I meant to show you these.
You showed me them. You sent me a picture of that or something like that. I know.
So now I don't have to wear those big headphones.
Well, how are you with earbuds and like, or the foam ear, hearing protector things?
They're okay.
Because some people don't like them. I've got a pair.
But these actually have the little three-tiered things that you can put on them too.
Yeah. So this is my original set of ISO tunes. So they've got the wire between them and such, and they've got that memory foam kind of earbud things.
Mm-hmm.
And they come with like I think 3 different sizes to try to make sure they fit your ears really well. And I like these. My only issue with this pair is that if my phone is in the wrong spot, it seems to drop the Bluetooth connection. But um, I think the battery is starting to get a little tired because I've had them like 4 or 5 years, and my others, the charging thing, I broke, so I'm kind of due for a refresh on those.
You heard it here, hobo. Apparently, there's a lot of squirrels in your shows. Yeah, well, see, the other ISOs, I like them, but since I've started using the glasses in the shop, I kind of feel your pain
Yeah.
where you were talking about, getting pressing in on your head. So if I'm using the glasses to record, the earmuff ISOs kind of get in the way a little bit.
Hmm.
And I was like, they had these and they had like 20% off sale going on at the event. And so I was like, you know what? It's that time. And to use them like for the live, like what we're doing now, I don't have to like press them and squish them in there. I just kind of shove them in there and use them. Ooh, geez, guys, I need some caffeine or something, or I'm gonna be fell asleep in the chair.
But no, as far as noise canceling headphones and such, I really like these, from Isotunes, and they do support the kind of the maker community and stuff as well. So
Yeah.
it's always
No,
appreciated.
up north. No, up north. We never had to talk into our cuff. We had the mic box that connected and run around your neck, and it connects like right here, and so it picks up the vibrations through your throat. So you don't have to talk into you don't have to do that. That was like 1970s. Uh, Now they have it to where basically it looks like a necklace with elastic, and you've got a little sensor that sits right there below your Adam's apple, and it picks up the voice through there. And it's actually you can whisper in those things, and it'll pick it up. So because it's just really really, really sensitive.
Nice. So
And then of course you have the old boom that connects to your head also.
of course with the CNC too, you've got your dust boot that's working pretty well, but like you mentioned, um, if it's not sitting right, it can throw some chips really well, and so that's something to consider for people when you're running these things. You know, uh, Personal protective equipment. Yours is fairly quiet, but if you've got one that's running a regular trim router and you might have a shop vac hooked to it, it can get pretty loud, and yeah, they can throw some chips, and that's really bad. I have a pair of prescription uh, safety glasses that I bought, and there was a few times that I was flattening. A neighbor of mine does a lot of like epoxy boards, and he asked me if I could flatten them for him. So he kind of worked out a rate while I was doing that. And when I do that and I use a flattening bit, I have to use a wider top to the dust boot that doesn't seal it as well till it some more chips can get away from the airflow. And there's been a few times as those have grazed my, glasses, or you kind of get this little sharp nick. So you got to be careful with those things. If they're not collecting the chips, they're throwing them, and they can become projectiles that'll cause some eye damage just as quickly as a laser without protection on as well. So
Oh yeah.
always
Well, I'm trying to do better with that. I've I'm the world's worst about not wearing stuff, so I'm trying to do a little better with that. And if you're comfortable, it's easier to actually do it. So,
mhm.
geez, I want to get up, like walk around. I'm going to stand in the back of the class for a minute.
Well, here's
Oh my
a
gosh.
question for you. Maybe you can wake up on that.
Oof. X2S1, your plans for the S1 jig kit. How do you best secure the jig pieces until safe up to until maybe he's meant space up the riser base.
Now, your S1 jig kit, doesn't that screw into the side using
Yeah,
those?
you take one of the screws that's in the machine out and put it back in, but you do have to space it up. But you can do that with either laser cut pieces or like just a piece of material that you got in your shop. It's just got to be the right thickness. That's pretty much, if you're going to use the jig, you need to have you some pieces cut to just layer it up till it's tall enough, or either find yourself some like 3/4 or inch and a half or whatever it was stock, and just put it under there. Maybe add some glue, a couple of little staples or screws or something to hold it together. But you want it to be flat. You don't want it sitting uphill or downhill, because that'll make bad things happen. So. Midnight. It wasn't that I can't use it with V-carve with the Shopoko. I messed up, and I knew it was me because I thought I knew the answer to it, but I was in a hurry the day that I was trying to get it set up, and I wanted to at least do a project with it. But what had happened, because I was running the Genmitsus and stuff like that, there really was no matter what speed was in the spindle settings, it turned the relay on and made the spindle come on. But when I went over to the VFD, if let's say I had 1200 RPM set for the bit or whatever, or 5,000 or 6,000 or 7,000, it would not activate the VFD, because the VFD, this one ranges from 8,000 to 24,000. So I've got to be between 8,000 and 24,000 for that spindle to turn on. And I didn't know that. I thought that if my speed was too low, it would just turn really, really slow. But on the spindle, it actually has stamped on there 8,000 to the 24,000. So when I got back from Georgia, I took that exact same file that I had attempted last week and changed the speeds to 10,000, and it worked like a champ first try. So that was the problem. But I had talked to the folks at VCarve or Vectric while I was over there, and I asked them if that could possibly be the problem, and they weren't real sure. But like I said, those guys, they run CNCs, but as far as the programming and all that, they weren't sure. But when I came home and swapped that around and went with a setting that I knew the spindle was capable of doing, it worked like a champ. So it was me setting it up, and I knew it was the whole time because I had seen where everybody was running the machine with Vectric. But the problem is there's very few videos out there of anybody running this machine with the spindle on there that tells you anything more than, yeah, I bought it a year ago and I still like it. I mean, they don't really go into details about how it works and settings and what to pay attention to and the pitfalls and stuff. So hopefully that's going to open up an area in which I can create some content so that the next guy that gets one and has the problems that I'm having, I'll be able to let them know what to look for. Because on my way to Georgia, I was still racking my brain, what could it be? What could it be? And that was the only thing I could come up with, was that the speed was lower than the threshold of the spindle. And turns out I was exactly right. That's what it was. But it's working. It's working like a champ. Now, I actually cut this guy I actually cut this out with it from a file that I created in VCarve using a 1/4 inch flat end mill, and it took 15 minutes. So that was pretty good. And that was before I got to playing around with the speeds and feeds and changing over to the Genie bits and all that. So that's a heck of a lot better than it used to be. So I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to getting better at the machine. It's just going to take me a little while. Learning curve. Oh, there we go. Hello from Fairbanks, Alaska. There. Hello. How are you, Alaska? There's our Alaska subscriber we need on the map. Go join the map.
Yes, on the descriptions of our videos, there should be a link to our laser engraver community map and a form that if you would like to put a pin in our map for your location, go ahead and put your name, your business name, or whatever you want as a marker there, and maybe city, state, however you want. It doesn't need to be your exact address, but that form will then drop into where I can update the map. I just got to tell it to go grab the new data, and it'll put those pins in for you. And we're getting close to 400 people on the map now, so it's getting filled out, and we always love to see more of that. So check that out. It's in the description of both of our channels. Hopefully, we're both on YouTube and Facebook. And if you feel like it, drop your pin, and we'd appreciate it. So there's our ad.
Yeah, especially the Alaskan.
Yes,
We need
I think
that one.
Alaska's
I think
our.
we finally got Nevada.
We've got Nevada. I think that would be our last of the U.S. states to add. We're still missing some of the Canadian provinces, but we're also starting to get more over, in Europe. You're getting more of the countries there. We got a good contingent from Australia, New Zealand area as well. So it's, definitely worldwide.
Hey, that's cool. We don't have anybody in Antarctica yet either, do we?
No, still waiting for. I don't think so.
We're waiting on Santa Claus for that one.
Well, he's more northern hemisphere, but
Well, yeah.
I'm sure he visits in the summer.
Hey, did I mention I'm not good at geography either? Dave's got an interesting point. I never thought about that. He said, with it being an air-cooled spindle, most of them have a minimum RPM so that they can, move enough air to stay cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense. Maybe if it wasn't an air-cooled, it would actually could go at those lower speeds. But yeah, that apparently the controller that controls the spindle will not send it to work if it's less than 8,000. So I learned that lesson. And like I said, now that I've got my all the settings from Cody for these bits and got them in there, I'm gonna start running those. The other bits that I was running with just the Shapeco software, the Create software. I was using the default settings in there for a 1/4 inch. So, and it's way, way, way more conservative than the speeds and feeds that Cody has on his. Did a good job, did a really clean job, but it was way more conservative. So, but yeah, guys, if you want to see the map, there's a link in the description. Like I said, go check that out. And we're hopefully going to keep. Oh, look there, we got a pin drop, so we're all 50 states. Woohoo! Jeez.
Yep, just updated it now. So,
all right, now if we can just find somebody in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands.
okay.
But yeah, that's cool. It's cool to see.
Yeah, no, and that'll as we get to other events around, that'll probably help us identify, like, hey, there's a few people in this area. If you want us to try to run a meetup, we'll try to reference this map as well to see. But
yeah. Well, Dave's saying on his Avid, if he sets it for 6,000, it'll still run, but at 8,000. And I haven't tried that. I did look at the file that I was trying to run, and for some reason, the speed on the bit that I picked, because I was using just like some of the same smart Genmitsu sets, the speed was set at like 1,200, and it didn't do nothing. It just sat there. And I don't know if that's something that's in the controller on this particular spindle in the programming or what, but once I changed it to 10,000 RPMs, it spun up and it got on down then. So But just like with these bits here, most of the ones I looked at the ones that I got from Cody, and most of them, the RPMs are on up there. So that's pretty good. Oh, somebody was asking how the. He told me, there you go, Steve. We're going to have a meet up down under one of these days. She ain't even got a passport. She
Well,
can't get to Australia.
uh, yeah, Australia would
But
be fun. Along with I actually have a friend of mine who's from the Atlanta area. He's actually been visiting. Um, he's down in New Zealand, and so he was showing some pictures from like the Hobbiton set where they were doing the Lord of the Rings and other things like that. So
yeah.
it would definitely be fun to do some more of that travel, but I don't know. I think we might be hitting. It's probably more likely I'd end up in like the UK before some other places. I think there's been some
Yeah.
discussion of places we should go. So
Well, Chris, according to Shapeoko, there shouldn't be any setting, tuning, or anything needed with this spindle to get the appropriate RPMs out of it. It's like I said, I ordered it from them. They wire it, put the pigtails on it, everything. I mean, it's not. There's really only thing you've got to do is plug it up and slide the spindle in there and clamp it down. So I'm assuming that all that should be done. I haven't checked it or tested it, but I can tell you now it throws some chips way more than what I'm used to. My project times are going to go way down, especially with these new bits.
yeah, you'll like that on both aspects.
Yeah.
Because yeah,
And it looks cool.
this this one that I did. So this is about 14 inches wide and I don't know 7 ish inches tall. The clearing path was only about 3 minutes, and then the V carve for the rest of it was I think 8.5. So imagine engraving that with a laser in that size versus running through with the CNC and such. So um, few different ways. I mean, obviously this has depth to it. You may or may not want that. And actually, I want to play with uh, doing one of these in epoxy. So I'm going to use the school colors on the logo and such, and actually fill that in because that'll make it pop even more. So it'll uh, it'll uh, it'll be fun to see what you do with that, and then the better bits and the faster speed.
Oh yeah. Well, I plan to find out sometime this week. I do have some stove covers I've got to work on, but the plan is to get me a like a really in depth CNC file going. I went by Lowe's on the way home and bought me a couple of pieces of plywood. I'm wanting to try to make myself some lock-in clamps, like the twist type clamps for it. So I got me a piece of plywood for that. And instead of using PVC, because just don't really want to use PVC, I got me some like 1 inch dowels that I'm gonna, or 3/4, maybe 3/4, but anyway, it's a big dowel, and I'm gonna use little short pieces of dowel and drop those in there, and then use it to make the little twist locks. And I'm planning on taking them all outside and painting them black so that they may not stay black, but at least they'll match the machine. Or I may get me some orange in a rattle can. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Do, 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 do. Oh, there we go. There's your question right there. It depends.
Yeah. So I mean, there are some easier ones for sure, and much as you're maybe finding with Lightburn versus XCS, you might be sacrificing options and flexibility for simplicity and kind of like locked inness. You tell it one thing, it's going to do it. So there, but so like some of the big the what is it Carveco that came with yours, um, or is it What's the one that what?
The carbide motion and carbide create
Yeah,
is
okay,
what
cardboard
come with
create.
this one.
Uh, there are some like that if you get it with the right CNC machine, it's fairly simple. You know, drop in your SVG, tell it you want a pocket so deep, and it'll do the math for you. Vectric is similar, but it's when it has more flexibility and more options, that's where you get into that complexity where you can start screwing things up. Um, and so it's
Yeah.
I would say it's definitely CNC routers in general there's a little bit of steeper learning curve on because you can do a little more damage with them. You know, you've got to have your material fixed in place, otherwise it's gonna, you know, it can throw that with the wrong bit. You
It's
know,
going
so
to become a rocket.
there's some danger there. You got bits that are interacting with material, and those can break, and those can become projectiles. So there's a little more danger, and you gotta get used to, you know, your feed rates, your depths, your step over. It's not so much just as like, okay, fire the blazer at it, and if it doesn't work, try slower or faster. You do that, but it has different repercussions to it. So there's definitely, I think, more to learn about with it. I actually did the inverse because I started out with a CNC router and then moved into lasers. So the laser part seemed a lot easier to me at that point. You know, because I jumped
Yeah.
right into RD Works, which is like a really bad version of Lightburn. And then I got into Lightburn and went, oh, wow, this is so much easier. And then went into some of the software like XDS and went, oh, okay, so I don't have as many options. I just can do these things. So um,
Yeah.
kind of a different experience
Well,
for me.
yeah. Well, I would say from somebody who learned CNC like basically on my own and just doing YouTube videos and stuff, to get your feet wet and to see the kind of things that you can do and start understanding the different variables. Easel is about as simple as it gets. Easel is a basically click, it tells you what to do next. Click, it tells you what to do next. Click, it tells you what to do next. Click, it starts, it burns the job, and it finishes. They have a lot of built-in like speeds and feeds based on the machine, the size of the bit, and stuff like that. Uh, so Easel is, in my opinion, the easiest CNC software I've ran so far. But on that same note, it's also not as easy to create custom stuff in it. If what you're going to be doing is primarily going to be text, it's primarily going to be just cutting out shapes, maybe downloading a file off of Etsy or out of the Easel shop, and bringing it in there and engraving it. It does a good job. It works, and it worked with the 4040. It worked with the 3030. It worked with the 6050. But if you're wanting to do more complex things like design your own like little files or whatnot, then you're going to start wanting to get into something a little more complex like Carvico or Vectric. Which Vectric, from what I've seen, Vectric is a little more complex than Carvico, but it has more tools as well. Uh, but the software that comes with the Shapeco, the Carbide Create and Carbide Motion. Motion is more or less just a really easy, it's pretty laid out in a very user friendly kind of way. G code sender is all it is. It serves the same purpose as like Candle and some of the other softwares, but it's just more tailored to the operations and the things that the Shapeco does. So you have like rapid moves to where you can just pick a spot on the bed and it'll actually move there really really fast. You have the jog function, and it feeds the G code needed to operate the accessories that come with the Shapeco into the machine. Uh, as far as designing in their software, I've barely even got my feet wet with it, but I can tell you that it's not as versatile as Vectric is so far, as VCarve is. It is capable, but I would say from what I've seen so far, now they do offer a pro version that may do more, but the software that comes free with the machine, uh, from what I've seen, I would say it's kind of like XCS compared to Lightburn. It does a lot of the same things. It just doesn't have a lot of the tools to do some of the more complex stuff easily. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's not as easy to me because I learned how to run stuff in Lightburn. But now, like I said, I may get the wind up getting their pro version one day and just trying it out and seeing if it adds tools to it or if it gets a little more complex or what. But for right now, I've learned how to use Vectric on the other machines and VCarve, and so that's what I'm gonna stick with that for now, unless something comes up. Which, to be honest with you, I can only use my VCarve currently to do things less than 525 by 525. I do have plans to upgrade my license to the full 4 foot by 4 foot. So, like when I went to set up the cut to level the bed, I actually had to go use Carbide Create to do that one, which is basically a big square with 3/1000ths, engraving on it. So it wasn't anything too hard. But yeah, it's not been too bad so far. But keep in mind, I came from light burn into VCarve, and there's a lot of parallels that are just it does the same thing. It just may have a different icon or be called something different.
Yeah.
But the process is very similar.
So Pat's kind of got a follow-up question with that. What would be a great CNC machine to start with, or is it better to just buy big and go with it?
Depends on your budget. I mean, to be honest with you, and how confident are you that it's going to be something you like?
Yeah.
I mean, because that's a big investment. I'm just going to throw that out there. That's a big investment.
I would definitely I would caution against some of the very small, inexpensive desktop CNCs. Kind of the lowest end one that I would, if someone's just not sure and they're willing to spend a little money to see if they like it, the 4040 from Sane Smart, I feel works well enough on with the 1/8 inch bits to really kind of get a feel for how it works, start to be able to do some things. But it's also going to limit you in both the size and the speed and the size bits you can get into. The 6050 obviously opens up some more, and there's others in that range. Stepcraft has some, you can get an open builds Ox or some of their newer ones. There's a lot more options when you get into that, bigger range, bigger machine. But then you start kind of getting into, well, what do I have room for? Where is my real budget? Because, you're starting to talk in that $1,500 to $2,000 range anyway. If you think you're going to do this a lot, bed size, you're never going to complain that it's too big unless you're trying to fit another machine in next to it. But there's a lot of times you're like, oh, if I just had a little more space, this would be easier. On the flip side of that, if you're using 24 inches of your, 24 square inches of your 48 inch square bed 90% of the time, then you might want to think about, can I get by with tiling and splitting up the job or whatnot. So to some degree, if you really know that you're going to go for it and you know that CNC routing is going to be something you want to do, then yeah, I would buy as much machine as you can afford from a reputable place. But if you're not sure you want to do it, maybe try to find one of those smaller, less expensive machines that'll at least give you the taste of it.
Yeah, because just like one thing you got to look at too, just like with the Shape Oco, the 5 that I just got, the 2x2, and I can show you down here on the screen. The 2x2 is $3,200 for a 2 foot by 2 foot. All right, the 4 foot by 4 foot is only $3,750. So you're not going to save a lot of money once you get up into these machines, because all you're really doing is buying bigger rails and stuff like that. The prices are not that much difference between the two or the three, because they offer it in a 2x2, 2x4, and then the 4x4. But you're only between the 2x2 and the 4x4, you're only going to save like $500 now. And then if you decide you want to put the spindle on it, like what I've got, you're looking at another $750. So to get into one of these, you're looking at well over $4,000 to be able to do it. And like Steve said, you can get that 6050 I think that would be a good starter machine with a decent work area if you've got the place to put it. Because it was more like having a full-fledged CNC, because it actually could cut stuff in a reasonable amount of time. the 40/40, if you're just going to be doing carving and engraving or maybe cutting, 1/4 inch stuff, I think it would be okay. But when you start trying to do what I was trying to do and cut, 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch oak with it, you better have some time on your hands. And that was
Hmm.
one reason why I didn't do as much. Because even with the DeWalt spindle, you still can't push it real hard because the machine is not that sturdy and it flexes if you try to go too fast. Whereas the 60/50 with the Makita, I didn't have that problem. So, to be honest, if you have the room and the budget, I would probably say the 60/50 or maybe the Proverb. Well, they have don't they have a 40/30 Proverb? I know they have the
Hmm.
30/30, but I think they have a 40/30 as well. But I would
Hmm.
think the one of the Provers, the upright one like that, it would be a good one to start out with if you're not sure. But now your best bet's to go to somebody's house and play around with theirs and make sure if you like it or not, and just spend the money and get what you want. Because even at $1,500, that's a lot of money, and there's no guarantee you're gonna be able to sell it and get your money back out of it. Uh, Luckily,
Well,
you know,
and that's how I ended up with my first machine. Is my friend had it, and he said, "Yeah, you want to come over and use it anytime." And eventually got to where he was interested in upgrading, and I said, "Well, I'll buy your old one." And that was
yeah,
like, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago, and it was a fun machine. I learned a lot on it. It was actually original. He had built it from a kit, so he had to cut out a lot of. It was built out of a lot of 3/4 inch Baltic birch pieces and such. So it was an interesting machine, and I learned a lot on it. But um,
yeah. Well, Shapeoko even makes. They still make like say their HDM and some of the other machines. Now the HDM's actually more expensive than the one I got, but you can still get like the four. It looks like it's like $2,500, and that's not a terrible machine. It does have the belts and the rubber wheels, which was kind of a turn off for me because I wanted the lead screw of the either lead screws or ball screws. The 60/50 had lead screws; they worked okay, but the ball screws, of course, everybody knows that's actually where most machines are going to. Jack, that is a laser slash cat launching platform. That's where Fluffy launches to jump on the steps and go up to the bed. They're trying to tell me it's time for me to get off of here and go to sleep because they're ready to go to sleep. So, but anyway, but no, they're the cat bed is actually behind that curtain, and Fluffy is scared to go through the curtain, so she goes around it. So, well, who was that said that? You say that imperfect woodcrafts. If I could ever talk my wife into it, and I could ever make enough money to justify it, I actually wouldn't mind buying a building somewhere in here in town and having a makerspace. That's actually a dream of mine. Is that maybe one day the good Lord will bless me to the point to where I will have enough resources that I could go get me a building, put in like a maker space, and have 3D printers, CNCs, lasers, and all that in there, and start doing like outreach programs for some of these kids that stay in trouble and stuff like that. Because I feel like, especially me with my background in law enforcement and all the buddies that I have that have a background in law enforcement, we could take those troubled kids and teach them something, and not be and not have to see them end up as adults, going through the system and having to do the things that a lot of other people have done. Because where I live, it's really, really rural, and a lot of companies that do that kind of thing aren't going to come here because there's not enough population to
yeah,
justify a big company coming in. So, and I'm gonna be honest with you, at the one thing that I saw this weekend at the Workbench Con was Tom Bodette, which many of y'all have heard. Tom Bodette, Motel 6. We'll leave the light on for you. Little did I know that like his therapy that he used to get through some issues in his life was woodworking, and he actually has a place in I think it's Vermont or somewhere West Coast that's what he does. He has a maker space that he has built, and he has kids come in from the Boys and Girls Ranches and make skateboards and go to the skate park and play with them and all that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that I think more people should do more of. But unfortunately, currently. That's not an option for me. But maybe one day, if Lord's willing, it will be, and I can do it. And maybe have some guys, some old retired police, go in there and teach these kids and keep them off the street, give them something to do, give them a way to make money. People getting out of jail that have no skills necessarily, that have been in trouble all their life, maybe they could come in there, learn how to make cabinets, learn how to do something, run a machine at a business, whatever, and give them something that they could use for a viable income as they recover from whatever the reason was that got them into jail. So those are kind of two things that I would like to see be able to do, but we'll see. We'll see if it's in the cards. If it is, it'll happen, and if it's not, it won't. That's the way I look at it, because that's pretty much the story of my life. Some things that I didn't think could ever happen happened, and then other things that I thought should happen didn't. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's I'd love that to be my pre-retirement gig, whether it's something I'm able to spin up myself, or if someone comes at me and says, "Hey, I need you, I need someone to manage my makerspace. I'll pay you to come do it. What's it going to take?" I'd love to do that, and for a lot of the same reasons you're saying there, but even just, the average person who wants to try it out and they don't know where to start, or they're afraid of, how to start, or they don't have the space,
Yeah.
it'd just be great to help that out. And I think it would be something that definitely be enjoyable, getting out of bed and going to do that every day, for a while. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well,
so we'll see.
like I said, it would be a place that you could teach classes. I mean, you could literally just have classes, and maybe
Mhm.
maybe one day you could have CNC, and then the next day you could have a CAD class, or you could have laser class, or just sanding, epoxy. You could
Yeah.
even, and especially if we stayed in the maker space like we are now, I mean, you could book that thing up with a different creator every month. You could talk to somebody and be like, "Hey, you want to come teach a class?" And we could have different people come through. That would be a dream to be able to do that. Uh, and I know May May does that a lot at her place with paper crafting. She has her Craft Acropolis events and stuff like that. And I actually talked to her about, after I retire, kind of adding a laser workshop to her Craft Acropolis, because it is in essence a form of crafting or making or creating or whatever. And I thought maybe some of the husbands or some of the folks that's in her class might actually want to come over and burn some wood or make something with a laser. And so I've talked to her about maybe joining up with her after I retire, when I have the time to do it. And who knows? Maybe one day we can have like a Clack Shack wing on the May made it, to where we can have laser classes a couple times a year. But we'll see. Never know. Never know.
Cool stuff. Well, we have gone
2 hours.
over our 2 hours, so
Woo!
we got to get you to bed and at least
Yeah.
maybe some time with Brandy. So
Hey, what do you think? What do you think about my new color PLA I got?
it's kind of, I don't know. It's a little what am I thinking of? Sorbet. There we go.
Everything. Well, I figured it's good for you to use for this, because that way I could spot it if I drop it. I don't want to step on it and break it. So,
Mm.
but anyway, guys, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm trying to recover from my trip, so I've been yawning, and I'm about to yawn again. So we're gonna get out of here. But if you haven't put yourself on the map, by all means do. And if our friend from Alaska is still in here, thank you very much for filling in that final state that has been eluding us for 6 or 8 weeks now, hasn't it?
It's been a few weeks,
It's not longer. So we got lucky on that one. Got us an Alaska connection tonight. If you hadn't already, smash that like button on your way out. Like I said, the more content we get, one step closer to Steve and I's dream of creating a makerspace one day. maybe it'll come true. You never know. But yeah, April 20th, if you're going to be in the area, like I said, Steve's going to come to town. We're going to go visit with May May. So you could visit me, Steve, and May May all in one place. And that would be a pretty cool picture, because I don't know how many times in the next 10 years or so all three of us could be in the same room. So that'd be kind of cool. That'd be one of those pictures you might not ever get again. So, all right, guys. thanks for coming, and stay tuned for more CNC action.
CNC and lasers. More to come.
Well,
We'll see y'all.
I'm gonna be playing with that for at least a week.
I
Y'all
know
gotta
you.
let me get.
You'll be busy with that.
Gotta let me wear the new off of it. I'm still
Yeah.
gotta do my stove covers and cutting boards, but my playing is gonna be on that for at least a week. I gotta get out of my system.
Yeah. Well,
But y'all have a
plenty
good
on both.
night.
Plenty on both fronts. We'll see y'all later.